This next recipe is a recipe that can be used with store-covered ingredients. You can use tinned fruit, things like apples and pears, or you can use fresh. I'm going to use some fresh today. And it's actually going to be a pear cobbler. In America it's also called a dump cake, and you'll see why when you actually see the method. It really is quite strange. So to start with, I'm going to prepare the fruits. So as I say, I could have used a tin of pears, but I'm actually going to use 2 fresh ones. So I'm going to have to peel the pears and then make a decision as to how soft they are, as to whether or not they're going to need a little bit of pre-cooking. And if I pre-cook them, I'm just going to put them into the dish in the microwave, just to soften them a little bit. So they're quite good sized. So I think 2 will be plenty what I need. Okay. So I'm just going to cut off both ends and then cut it down the centre and then lie each one flat and then cut down the centre again. And then hope that it's going to be relatively easy to get rid of the core. So I'm just going to cut down like so and discard that bit. I'm going to do that with both of them. And then all I need to do then is just to cut it into squares. If they're big pieces, I can obviously trim them down a little bit as I cut. Okay, I decided to give my pears a couple of minutes in the microwave, so I'm just going to pop them into the bowl. And I told you this was quite a strange recipe. Into them now, I'm going to toss the sugar. I'm going to add into it about half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm going to add into it the flour. And I'm going to very randomly just stir those together. So I've now got my flour and sugar coated fruit. The next stage then is to melt some butter and to take half of an egg. I'm going to mix the egg into the butter and then I'm going to stir the whole lot into the flour mixture. And this is going to look even more odd when it comes together. It's a little bit like having a cake mixture with lots of lumps in. And it doesn't go all smooth, so you've got bits of fruit with lumps of mixture. Okay, I'm going to get the same dish back then that I used earlier. I've buttered it just a tiny little bit, and then into there goes this quite odd fruity dough. So as I say, you don't need to worry about whether it's all mixed in or not, but you do need to scrape the bowl out. Okay, once you've done that then, you're going to flatten it all down. Try to make sure it's not too much all on the sides of the dish. And that there's a fairly even distribution of all of the ingredients. And then finally, if you have some at home, a little bit of demerara sugar, a couple of spoonfuls of that is nice, sprinkled over the top to give it a crunchy topping. And if you want to put a little bit more cinnamon on, you can. It then goes into the oven for about 20 minutes at 180 until it's brown and crispy and the sort of cake mixture has cooked through. So there it is, in the oven for about 20 minutes till it goes brown. So the pear pudding has now cooked through. It took another 3 minutes longer than the initial 20 minutes that it had. but you can see that it's gone nice and brown and crispy, and that's what we're looking for. Ready to serve with some ice cream or some whipped cream.